All right. So in today's session, we will be discussing about the OET Listening Part C. Okay. So after attending the session, you will definitely be getting some benefits. So let's talk about the advantages of attending today's session. Right. So here, as I told you, we will be focusing on two questions. Both questions are opinion-based questions. So those questions require you to have the ability. It requires you to have the skill to think like the speaker. Simply listening to their English and understanding English is not enough. You have to listen to them and you need to think why they are saying this, from what viewpoint, from what perspective are they saying this. So your ability to think like them. So it is a little bit what we call as empathy as well. So what is empathy? Empathy is basically to see life from another person's point of view. Okay, so a small extension of that. Okay, a medical professional needs empathy. So when a person is talking, you need to be able to understand from which angle they are saying. Okay, so that ability you should need to have. You must be able to interpret attitudes, opinions, and viewpoints. Okay, so we'll be discussing about that and learn how to identify emotive language, emotive words. Emotive words are basically words that basically expresses emotions, whether it is a positive emotion, whether it's a negative emotion. So there are certain words, certain terms and all that we will be coming across when we are listening to the audios. And that is, if you're able to identify emotive words, it is really going to help you out. Right. Then, as I told you, emotive words are there. And in yesterday's class, we talked about contrast phrases. Right. So, emotion rich words. So, for example, if the speaker is saying shocking, concerning, welcomed. Okay. So, these actually shows the emotions. Okay. Shocking basically means what? The person is surprised. Okay. He's alarmed. He's surprised, concerned. So, hear that word, then you will be okay. This person is worried. Okay. Worry is the emotion there. Welcomed. So he's welcoming it. He's openly welcoming it. He's accepting it. So it is acceptance. Okay. So these are words which we call as emotive words. So you have to train yourself. Okay. So that's training is required for you to identify such emotive words. And then we have contrast phrases. Right. Contrast phrases basically signals a change. Okay. That is from a positive a negative information is going to grow, or from negative, it is going to become positive. So it signals a change. That's what we call as contrast phrases, like however, unlike, on the other hand, but. Okay, these are some common contrast phrases. Right. So we need to have certain skills. So again, keyword analyzing skills, that is comprehension of the question. So your duty is to find the correct answer to the question. Your duty is to not understand each and every word they are saying. Your duty is not to understand the accent. Your duty is not to understand, the intent. Your duty is to understand the question and choose the correct answer. So the priority is always the question. So for that, you should be able to identify the keywords in the question. Okay, keyword analysis we'll be discussing, as well as verb analysis. Verb analysis in order to eliminate the incorrect answer options. Right. So whether he's believing certain things, whether he's supporting. Okay, so these are certain verbs and the answer options. In the answer options, they will say the opinion is believing, the writer is supporting. Okay, so if you're able to identify the verbs like that, it becomes easy for you to eliminate the incorrect answer options. Right. And identifying keywords. That is very important for accurate mapping of the answer options as well. And then, of course, the elimination strategy, because here the good news. Okay, so compared to IELTS, in OET, we have all multiple choice questions. So at least there is a game of luck. So we have three answer options. At least one answer option, if you're able to confidently eliminate, then you have a 50-50 chance. Right. Even if you're not sure. So let's imagine that maybe A is the correct answer, but you eliminate one. Okay, one answer option. Now you have two answer options, A or B. So even if you don't know, if it's a game of luck, if one you eliminate, then you get 50% chance that you may get correct. Okay, so that is how important elimination strategies, especially for very difficult questions. Okay, so learn how to confidently eliminate distractors. Okay, distractors basically means the audio content. Okay, the OET is very cunning. They're not going to spoon feed you. Oh, this is the answer. This is the wrong answer. They will never spoon feed you that. Okay, they will distract you. They're very cunning. So you need to have a very sharp focus. Okay, so you have to distract the distractors from the audio. Okay, and you should be staying on track with the audio as well. So that and all in today's session we'll be discussing. Again, focus and concentration. Very, very important. Okay, you have to learn how to be attentive. Okay, see, because concentration and focus is one of the most, um, you know, crucial elements that you need to have for OET listening. Because see, we cannot pause the audio. We cannot rewind the audio. The audio goes in one continuous stretch, right? So if we lose our focus for just even 2 seconds, maybe in that 2 seconds only the answer will be there. So that 2 second also is extremely important. So you have to train your brain to be very, very attentive. Okay. And again, key phrases and all that. Okay, so like this, we'll be having a small discussion. So by the end of today's session, hopefully, okay, you will be a little bit confident in tackling opinion-based question. That is, if you come across an opinion-based question, how to put in the right strategies and how to put the right approach, the right methods. Maybe that will help you out today. Knowing how to predict and verify the stand of the speaker. Okay, that is thinking like the speaker so that you can predict what the answer is going to be, and also improve your accuracy and confidence in listening part C. Right, so we will be discussing this today. Now, let's have a small, quickly, we will just have a small multiple choice question. Okay, so we have 5 questions over here. So this is the very first question. So choose the most appropriate sentence to complete the discharge summary. Okay, so here you have to bring in your vocabulary skills. So type your answer in the chat box. The patient was advised to avoid lifting heavy objects as it could dash the surgical site. Is it A, B, C, or D? The patient was advised to avoid lifting heavy objects as it could. So could basically means what? It is future tense. Okay, in the future, something bad could happen if the patient continues to lift heavy objects, right? So we have several answer options over here: exacerbate, evaporate, illuminate, fabricate. Okay, so the right answer option is basically answer option A, exacerbate. Okay, very good job. Exacerbate basically means what? What is the vocabulary exacerbate means? Exacerbate basically means to worsen. A disease condition is becoming worsened, okay, or it is increasing, okay, deteriorating. Okay, that is the meaning of exacerbate. Okay, fabricate. Fabricate basically means, imagination. Okay, like there are several words for fabricate: imagination, creating. Okay, that's all we call fabricate. Okay, so here exacerbate is the right answer. Good. Now let's come to the second question. Which sentence is grammatically correct and suitable in a nursing progress note? Okay, that is we are nursing a patient. So which sentence is grammatically correct? So here you have to bring in your grammatical accuracy. Is it A, B, C, or D? Here your singular tense, plural tense, present tense, past tense, everything is important. Right? So here it is a little bit straightforward question. The answer option is C. Okay, the wound was cleaned. Okay, so how many wound is there? Just one wound is there. Okay, so it is singular tense. So singular tense means was will come. Here they have written where. Where we use for when? when there is plural. Okay, when there are more than two wounds, more than one wound, plural tense we use where. Okay, so here the wound was cleaned, okay, and covered. Now, you see, this is past tense. Cleaned is covered, ed. So here also ed will come, covered. So here, see, they have written ing, present. Here they have written past tense, and here they have written present continuous tense. Okay, with a sterile dressing. Okay, so answer option C will be the right answer. Good. Now let's come to the third question. Mm, yeah. So here also you need to have very good vocabulary skills. Choose the appropriate word to complete the sentence. The patient denied any history of dash illnesses such as diabetes or hypertension. Yes, right. So the right answer option will be answer option C, chronic. Okay, see what is diabetes? Diabetes, hypertension are all lifelong persisting conditions. Okay, they are basically what we call as lifestyle disorders. Okay, lifestyle disorders. Right. So it persists lifelong. Okay, lifestyle modifications are necessary. Chronic. Chronic means long term. Okay, so terminal. Terminal basically means what? Terminal is basically a death sentence. Death sentence basically means what? There is no hope. The end of the patient is death only. Okay, the patient is not going to be cured. It is a terminal disease. Terminal disease basically means the fate has been written. Death. Okay, that is the meaning of terminal. Trivial. Trivial means what? Trivial means the opposite of terminal. Okay, trivial means a very, very mild disease. Nothing to be taken seriously. Okay, it's a very mild disease. No treatment also, the patient is going to be completely fine. So that is the meaning of trivial. Okay. All right. So here C will be the right answer. Now let's go to the fourth question. Identify the best option that accurately uses a medical collocation. Collocation basically means a combination of words that is accepted universally, a combination of words. A medical collocation. Yes. All right. So everyone has gone with answer option C. The answer option C is indeed the right answer. The patient underwent a surgical procedure. Now, see, this is the accepted collocation. Okay, it's a medical collocation. Now, sleeping injection, that is not a collocation. That is just word pairing. Okay, sleeping injection, physical test. Okay, it's just a pair of words. Rehabilitation capsules and all. Okay, that is not an accepted collocation. A procedure, a surgical procedure, that's a medical collocation, especially in writing, OET writing and all. You can use these words. Now, let's come to the fifth question for the day. Which of the following sentences best demonstrates appropriate tone for OET letter to senior healthcare professional? So here you have to choose the sentence which is the appropriate tone. Hmm. All right, so we have everyone going with answer option C. Okay, so let's see if that is indeed the right answer. So C is indeed the right answer. Okay, kindly note that further diagnostic investigations may be warranted. Warranted basically means what? May be required. Okay, warranted means may be needed. Okay, it is necessary. That is the meaning of warranted. Right. So we can use those very refined English vocabulary and kindly note. Now, you see, how the tone, okay, the tone is very appropriate. Now see over here, I think, okay, I think and all in a professional letter and all we can't use. The patient probably needs. So see, there's a lot of uncertainty there. We can't use these words in OET writing. You should maybe look, okay, again over here, not a very formal way of writing, it's very casual. So C will be indeed the right answer. Okay, so that is the end of these MCQ questions for today. So let's take a look into the opinion type questions that we will be discussing. Right. So it may be challenging. Depends. You may find it either easy or you may find it either challenging. Really depends. One of the two. Mm, Okay, so the 35th question. Okay, so the 35th question is basically an opinion type question. Okay, so let me just take the 35th audio as well. So I understand this opinion type question and try to think like the speaker. Okay, give importance to the verbs and try to eliminate the incorrect answer options one by one. So we have the very detailed lectures available in the app. Okay, so that is 24/7 available. Here, I'm just giving you the guidance that you need. Okay, so all right, so this is the 35th question. Read the 35th question. Okay, so have you read the question? So first I want you to do it on your own and then I will give you the explanation. Okay, the right strategies. So now let's hear the audio script.
Turning to other areas of concern, let's look at antibiotics in agriculture and livestock rearing. People might be surprised to learn that worldwide, the overall quantity of antibiotics used in food production is now higher than the amount consumed by humans. Something which horrifies me is that antibiotics are consumed by animals as a matter of course, simply to prevent problems or indeed to speed up their growth. This happens a lot in intensive farming, where animals are kept in confined conditions. We've known for years now that this overuse is directly related to resistance in humans. So there's obviously an urgent need for farmers to cut down.
All right. So that is the audio script. So once again, I will just play the audio if you found it slightly uncertain. So I would say it's a easy question. I don't think it is very advanced, but it is somewhat easy. Let's hear the audio script.
Turning to other areas of concern, let's look at antibiotics in agriculture and livestock rearing. People might be surprised to learn that worldwide, the overall quantity of antibiotics used in food production is now higher than the amount consumed by humans. Something which horrifies me is that antibiotics are consumed by animals as a matter of course, simply to prevent problems or indeed to speed up their growth. This happens a lot in intensive farming, where animals are kept in confined conditions. We've known for years now that this overuse is directly related to resistance in humans, so there's obviously an urgent need for farmers to cut down.
All right. So that is the audio script. So if you have found the answer, you can type it in the chat box. I would say it's a relatively easy question, not very complicated. Okay, but since it is an opinion-based question, things can go wrong. All right. So over here, let's take a look into the 35th question. Okay, so this is an opinion-based question. So here you have to give importance to what the speaker is saying on a particular topic. Okay, so again, you have to understand the question, because only if you understand the question properly, you will be able to say, okay, this is an opinion-based question. So you can bring in the correct strategy. So how can we understand the question? By doing the keyword analysis. So you need to have the skill to identify the right keywords, link the keywords together, have a very good understanding, and then you must have a very good memory of the question. Okay, when the audio is playing, as I told you in the previous class, when the audio is playing, your eyesight should only be in the answer options, because you should not get distracted. Because when the audio is playing, if you are still reading the question, you are distracting yourself. Okay, so that is a very dangerous thing to do, because the OET itself is trying to distract you. And if you purposefully are distracting yourself by reading the question instead of looking into the answer options, then it is going to be very challenging. Right. So we played the audio twice. Now let's take a look into the keywords over here. So the question is asking you, what does Dr. Finn find most shocking? Okay, most means what? Most means number one. Okay, the most shocking. So what is the emotion over here? It is a negative emotion, right? It is not a very positive, it is not a very happy attitude over here. Okay, it is a negative attitude that the patient is having, and it is a very extreme, it is a very extreme negative attitude. Okay, most shocking about antibiotics used on livestock. So here you need to have language proficiency. Livestock basically means, cows, buffaloes. Okay, that we call it cattle. Okay, usually cattle, that is for milk production and all, we have cows and buffaloes, all those kind of animals, right? That is what we call as bovine creatures. That is those sheeps and all, sheeps, goats. Okay, all those types of animals is what we call as livestock. Okay, so here antibiotics. Okay, antibiotics are used on animals. And about that, what is the most shocking thing according to Dr. Finn? So this is an opinion type question. Okay, so this is what you need to find out. Now, what is answer option A? They are routinely consumed by healthy animals. Now, what is they referring to? What is they referring to over here? You can type it in the chat box. They. They are routinely consumed by healthy animals. Right? So it's quite simple. The word they is referring to antibiotics. Okay. Yeah, very good. Okay. It is basically referring to the word antibiotics. That is what is referring to. Okay. So this clarity you should have. So the OET people, they will not say antibiotics are routinely consumed by healthy animals. To bring in as much confusion as possible, they will use words such as this. So your duty is to find what is the most shocking thing according to the speaker. So this is the number one shocking thing. Antibiotics are routinely consumed. Routinely means what? Regularly. Okay. Regularly, human beings give these animals, that to healthy animals. Okay. Not sick animals. Healthy animals are given antibiotics regularly. Okay. And that is what is shocking to this person. Now, let's come to the B option. There is a probable link. Link means what? Connection. Okay, there is a possible link, connection with drug resistance in humans. Okay, so over here, you have to remember livestock are used in antibiotics are used in livestock. So this, okay, this is linked, okay. Usage of antibiotics in livestock is connected to drug resistance in humans. Okay, that is what answer option B is telling us. Now let's take a look into answer option C. The total amount given to animals exceeds that used by humans. So the total amount, what total amount? The total amount of antibiotics to animals exceeds than used by humans. So for example, if humans are taking 1,000 pills, animals are taking 2,000 pills. So the total amount given to animals is exceeding the amount of antibiotics given to human beings. And that is what is the most shocking thing for this particular doctor, Dr. Finn. So like this, you must be able to very quickly identify the keywords like this. Now, again, since these are multiple choice questions, you must be able to eliminate the incorrect answer options. Right. So in order to eliminate the incorrect answer options, let's bring in the verb analysis. Right. So verbs basically means actions. Any kind of an action, any kind of a movement is what we call as verbs. So here, answer option A, they are routinely consumed. So what is the action over here? Routinely consumed. The consumption is the verb over here. Okay. So this verb, okay, routine consumption is the most shocking thing to this particular doctor. Now, what is the verb in answer option B? There is a probable link with drug resistance in humans. So we can say a connection, okay, maybe we can say not exactly a verb over here, but the focal point, okay, there is a probable link, okay, so connection of the between livestock usage and drug resistance in humans, there is a possible link over here. And that, so when she found out about this connection of drug resistance in humans, okay, humans are not taking antibiotics, animals are taking antibiotics, but somehow drug resistance is happening in humans. Okay, so in yesterday's class, I talked about what is drug resistance. Drug resistance basically means tolerance. Okay, so previously 100 mg was required, but now the body is resistant. The bacteria is resistant. Now, to kill the bacteria, we need 200 mg. Okay, that is what we call as antibiotic resistance. Okay, so antibiotic resistance in humans are increasing. Why? Because animals are given antibiotics. And that possible connection is the most shocking thing to this person. Now, what is the third verb over here? The total amount given to any animals exceeds that used by humans. So we can say the amount given to animals exceeds, okay, exceeds that is used by humans. Okay, so the animals are getting more quantity of antibiotics than human beings, and that is the shocking thing. Now, what you need to, okay, so on your examination day, when you are, you know, trying to find the answer to these questions, you must be able to do it very, very quickly. Okay, what does Dr. Finn find most shocking? Okay, the most shocking thing about antibiotics in livestock. Okay, antibiotics given to livestock. What is the number one shocking thing? Okay, that is the opinion I need to find. So I must think like them and try to find the answer. So they are routinely consumed. Okay, healthy animals are routinely consuming antibiotics. She found about this, and that is why she is shocked. There is a probable connection with drug resistance. Okay, animals are given this, but drug resistance happening in human beings. She found about that, and that is what is shocking her. Animals are getting more quantity of antibiotics. Okay, so she found about this. This is the most shocking thing. So like this, you need to mentally prepare yourself. Okay, so for that you should have the skill. Okay, for that, what you need to do, you must have very good pre listening skill. Okay, so that you need to use these 90 seconds properly. So when they give you 90 seconds time to read the questions, you have to utilize those 90 seconds extremely cleverly. And only then you will be able to prepare yourself when the audio plays, because the audio will go in one single stretch. Now, when the audio is going to play, you must not look into the question. Okay. Now, the memory of the question should be thorough. Okay. This is an opinion type question. What is the most shocking thing? That memory should be very, very thorough in your mind. And with that memory, what you should do? You should try to choose the correct answer. Okay. Now, let's take a look into the audio script. And of course, we will bring in the elimination strategy as well. So let's take the audio script over here. So these are the benefits of practicing with the Cambridge materials. You always get access to the um, audio scripts for easier understanding. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so this is the audio script over here. So let's read it. Now, we listen to the audio. Now let's just read the script. Turning to other areas of concern. See, now beginning itself, she's saying there are certain concerning things. I'm worried about certain things. Okay, okay. So she's worried, but our duty is to find what is the most shocking thing for her. Let's look at antibiotics in agriculture and livestock rearing. Okay, livestock rearing, as I told you, cats, I mean, not cats, cattle's, buffaloes, cows, sheep's, goats. That is what we call as livestock rearing. Okay, so antibiotics are used there. People might be surprised. Huh. Now see the word surprised over here. The word surprised and the word shock are basically the same thing, right? Surprised and shock over here. But see how cunning the OET is. So here they have written, people might be surprised. That is, other people, common people might be surprised. So what is your duty here? Is your duty to find what people find shocking, or is your duty to find what Dr. Finn finds shocking? Your duty is to find what this person finds shocking. Your duty is to not find what people find shocking. Okay. So that is a misdirection. Okay. That's a trick by OET. That's a trap by OET that you should be able to avoid. So here she is saying people might be surprised to learn that worldwide, the overall quantity of antibiotics used in food production is now higher than the amount consumed by humans. Now, what is this sentence telling us? That sentence is talking about answer option C. Okay, exactly the same thing. Same verbs, same keywords. Okay, same meaning is coming over here. The total amount given to animals exceeds that used by humans. The same thing is mentioned. The overall quantity of antibiotics used in food production, okay, is now higher. Okay, so food production also is cattle only. Okay, ultimately they're used for meat only, no? So food production is now higher than the amount consumed by humans. So can we choose answer option C? But see over here, she's saying people might be surprised. People that too might. Might means what? Maybe. Okay, maybe they will become surprised. Maybe they will not become surprised. And that too, they're talking about other people. But the question is not asking what people might find shocking. Here, what she finds definitely, there is no maybe here. Definitely, she finds shocking this. Okay. And that is what answer option C is saying. So the question is not related to answer option C, even though C is completely mentioned. So we cannot choose answer option C. It is incorrect. Okay, C can be immediately, we will be able to eliminate it because everything over here, every single word exceeds used by humans is mentioned. But even though it is mentioned, the question is asking you what Dr. Finn finds the most shocking. Okay, but this is not what answer option C is talking about. So without a doubt, you will be able to eliminate answer option C. Now you are left with two answer options. Now it is either A or B. Now you have 50-50 chance, A or B. Okay, so now let's keep listening to the audio. Okay, so let's once again come back to the audio script. Now she is telling something which horrifies me. Now, see, what is the word? Now, this is what we call as an emotive word, horrifies. Okay, that is an information which she finds absolutely terrible. Okay, now see, that is the most shocking thing because what is the duty here? The most shocking. So she finds this the most horrible information. Okay, so we know it's a negative information over here. So this is a negative statement. Okay, that emotion you must be able to pinpoint. So this is an emotive word, a word that expresses the emotion of the speaker. And again, this is an opinion type question. So simply understanding the English is not enough. You must be able to think like the speaker. Now she is saying, see me over here. Now you can say, okay, now she is talking about what horrifies herself. Now let's see what they're saying. Something which horrifies me is that antibiotics are consumed by animals as a matter of course simply to prevent problems. Simply, that is, animals are now consuming this thing to prevent problems or indeed to speed up their growth. Okay, now you see over here, what is answer option A telling? A is telling that antibiotics are routinely consumed by healthy animals. Okay, so what is the verb over here? What is the verb in answer option A? Routinely consumed. And what is the keyword over here? Healthy animals are given antibiotics. So everything is mentioned. The keyword is mentioned. The verb is mentioned. Okay, antibiotics are mentioned. Livestock is mentioned. And what is the most important thing? What she finds as the most shocking. Okay, what she personally finds the most horrible, the most shocking. Okay, so that is also mentioned. Okay, so we can say that answer option A, again, we can say with that A is the right answer, but anyway, we can put a very strong question mark. That is, you really suspect that A could be the correct answer, right? And you put a question mark over here. See, we have already eliminated. But now you have a high doubt. You have a very high, with 99%, you're certain that A is the right answer. Okay, so now already we have a answer option in our mind. That is the correct option. But let's just see for the sake of teaching whether B is anywhere mentioned as the correct answer or not. Okay. So what is B telling us? There's a probable link with drug resistance in humans. So let's see that. This happens a lot in intensive farming where animals are kept in confined conditions. Confined basically means what? In very close areas. Okay, in a very, very close areas, no space is there. Okay, very congested. Very congested conditions is what we call as confined conditions. So to prevent, so many animals are living in a very small area. Animals can become sick. So to prevent problems. So they're all healthy, but we want to prevent them from falling sick. So what they're doing? They're giving antibiotics to healthy animals, okay, or to speed up their growth. Okay, so this is what happens in intensive farming. We have known for years that this overuse is directly related to resistance in humans. Now you see, this is also mentioned. Okay, as so there's obviously an urgent need for farmers to cut down. That is, they should reduce the antibiotic usage. Now you see over here, answer option B, there is a probable link with the drug resistance in humans. Is that mentioned? That is mentioned. Now you see, this overuse is directly related. This directly related to resistance in human beings. So that is also mentioned. But can we choose answer option B as the correct answer? Drug resistance in humans. Okay, the usage of this thing, there's a direct connection of drug resistance in humans. Everything is mentioned. The keywords are mentioned. The verb is mentioned. Okay, everything is mentioned. But what is the question asking you? The question is asking you what she finds the most shocking. So even though this information is mentioned, she is not saying she is shocked to know about this. Okay, so therefore, even though B is mentioned, it will not be the right answer because that is not what she finds the most shocking. And similarly, answer option C, that is also mentioned. Okay, use exceeds by humans. That is also completely mentioned, but that is not what the question is asking. So C is entirely incorrect as well. And what about answer option A? That is also mentioned. In all the three answer options are mentioned. Okay, and this is what the question is asking you to find. This is the opinion. Okay, so they are not asking you a fact. Now, there's a difference between opinion type question and factual, that is, detail specific questions. Detail specific questions basically means they'll ask you one specific detail like this, A, B, or C. Okay, but this is not a detail specific question. All the three details are mentioned, but they are not bothered about that. They want you to identify the opinion of the speaker. So you must be able to think like the other person. You must be able to think like the speaker and pinpoint the right answer. Okay. So just once more, we'll just play you the short audio. Okay. And let's see if you're able to get it this time. Okay. Given to animals exceeds that used by humans. So now let's hear the audio script.
Turning to other areas of concern, let's look at antibiotics in agriculture and livestock rearing. People might be surprised to learn that worldwide, the overall quantity of antibiotics used in food production is now higher than the amount consumed by humans. Something which horrifies me is that antibiotics are consumed by animals as a matter of course, simply to prevent problems or indeed to speed up their growth. This happens a lot in intensive farming, where animals are kept in confined conditions. We've known for years now that this overuse is directly related to resistance in humans, so there's obviously an urgent need for farmers to cut down.
All right. So that is yes. So this is how tricky opinion type questions are. So we have one more opinion type question. Okay, so this is 36th question over here. So let's just take the audio for the 36th question and then you attempt the 36th on your own. So let's hope it is an easier question this time. All right. So read the question. Okay, so let's hear the audio. Now let's hear the audio script.
So, is there any progress to report? Well, though there's still serious work to be done in places, for example, for manufacturers of antibiotics to stop discharging untreated waste products into watercourses and so on, it's not all doom and gloom. We're finding now that when doctors prescribe antibiotics, they're choosing narrow spectrum ones. These are active only against specific bacteria and so cause less general resistance. And something which is being talked about excitedly in the pharmaceutical industry just now is a therapy which uses bacterial viruses called phages to treat infections, something which was first practiced about a century ago. Antibacterial therapies, whether phage or antibiotic-based, have advantages and disadvantages, and there's still a lot to be learned about the interactions between phage, bacteria, and human host. But maybe the time to take phage therapy seriously is rapidly approaching.
Right. So in simpler terms, this is what. So it's a slightly tougher question compared to the previous one. So a lot of medical terms over here. So let's listen to the audio once again so that we can go to the explanation part.
So, is there any progress to report? Well, though there's still serious work to be done in places, for example, for manufacturers of antibiotics to stop discharging untreated waste products into watercourses and so on, it's not all doom and gloom. We're finding now that when doctors prescribe antibiotics, they're choosing narrow spectrum ones. These are active only against specific bacteria and so cause less general resistance. And something which is being talked about excitedly in the pharmaceutical industry just now is a therapy which uses bacterial viruses called phages to treat infections, something which was first practiced about a century ago. Antibacterial therapies, whether phage or antibiotic-based, have advantages and disadvantages, and there's still a lot to be learned about the interactions between phage, bacteria, and human host. But maybe the time to take phage therapy seriously is rapidly approaching.
Right. So in this particular audio, there are a lot of distractors. There's a lot of distractors over there. So if you have the right answer with you, you can type it in the chat box. Let's take a look into understanding the question. So why is this an opinion-based question? Over here, what is the question asking you? Dr. Finn welcomes. So whom will we welcome? So imagine that, you are going for a vacation. Okay, you're going for a 5-day vacation and you're inviting a friend. Will you invite a person? Will you welcome a very arrogant or a very rude person to the vacation you're going? Whom will you welcome? You will welcome a person whom you find very positive, okay, whom you see as a good person. Only that person you will welcome, right? So that is the meaning of welcome over here. Welcome is a very positive emotion. Okay, that is, she is accepting. Okay, she is accepting a very positive thing. So you have to think, okay, so she is accepting a very positive thing. And according to her, in her opinion, what is that positive thing that she is accepting? Okay, that is the meaning of welcoming. So she is welcomes, okay, Dr. Finn welcomes the progress that has been made. Okay, so progress means what? A lot of development. Okay, a lot of advancements, a lot of progress, a lot of development has happened. So the scientist, the medical community, they're doing very good jobs. And regarding the progress, she is happily accepting one particular information. And what information is she happily accepting? What positive emotion does she have for that? That is what you need to find out. So here you need to give importance to emotive words. Okay, that is what words that shows her positivity. Okay, if you're able to identify that, then it becomes slightly easy and you will be able to avoid the distractors. There are a lot of distractors over here. So it's an opinion based question. So let's read answer option A. Answer option A is telling production of new antibiotics by pharmaceutical firms. So what is the progress? Now you see over here, all these things are progress over here. Okay, A is a progress, B is a progress, C is a progress. Okay, so what is the first development that is happening? The first development that is happening is production of new antibiotics. Okay, so pharmaceutical firms means pharmaceutical companies, they are producing latest antibiotics. And she is very happy. She is happy to see that the pharmaceutical companies are producing a lot of new antibiotics. What is answer option B? Okay, control of levels of antibiotic waste in the environment. Okay, so there is a lot of antibiotic waste in the environment. Okay, and now the government, okay, the government and the people, they are controlling it. Okay, the people, the government, the authorities, the hospitals, and all that, they are controlling the amount of antibiotic waste in the environment, and that she is happily accepting. Okay, that is the progress that she is very happy to know. Now, what does answer option say? What is the third progress over here? Selective use of antibiotics. Okay, that is, we have different types of antibiotics, but now the people are using antibiotics very selectively. Okay, very carefully they are selecting the antibiotics to target specific infections. Okay, that is infection number one, this particular medication. Infection number two, this particular antibiotics. Infection number three, this particular antibiotic. So instead of giving the same antibiotic for all infections, they are giving different antibiotics, selective antibiotics for specific infections. So this is the progress. So this is the new change. And she is very happy to accept this change. Okay, so this is the opinion over here that you need to figure out. Now let's do the verb analysis very, very quickly. Okay, let's do the verb analysis here. So what is the verb in answer option A? Okay, so over here, she welcomes the progress. So what progress is she welcoming? This is the opinion that you need to find out. Answer option A, what is the verb over here? Production of new antibiotics. So production, okay. New antibiotics are produced and that is what she is happily welcoming. What is the verb in answer option B? Control of levels. Okay, so antibiotic waste is being controlled. Okay, so that is the verb over here. Okay, so that is what she is happily accepting. What is the verb in answer option C? Selective use of antibiotics. Okay, so there is a very selective use over here, and that selective use is what the new progress is, and that she is very happily acknowledging. Right. So now you must have the memory of the question in your mind. Okay. So now, okay, my duty is to find the opinion of the speaker. According to her, what is the progress that is making her happy? Okay. So now that memory should be there in your mind. And with that memory, now you should have now you should look only into the questions. Your eyesight should now only be in the questions. And now you have to listen to the audio and very attentively avoid the distractors. Okay, there are a lot of distracting information there. You must be able to avoid the distractors and then choose the correct answer option. Right. So let's take a look into the audio script over here. Now, the audio is saying, so she is asking, okay, it's a presentation. So she's asking us, is there any progress report? Okay, so she's asking, yes. So is there any progress? Okay, now she's saying, well, though there is still serious work to be done. Now she's saying, yeah, is there any progress? Well, not exactly, but still a lot of serious work is still yet to be done. That is in the future, we still need to do a lot of serious work. For example, for manufacturers of antibiotics to stop discharging untreated waste products into water courses and so on. Now you see over here, what is answer option B telling us? Answer option B is telling antibiotic waste, okay? Control of antibiotic waste is happening. People are now controlling the antibiotic waste in the environment. That is, now people are becoming very, very environmental friendly. That is the verb over here. Antibiotic waste is being controlled. But you see over here, what is she saying? She is saying there is still a lot of serious work to be done. Okay, there is still a lot of problems have to be solved. For example, manufacturers of antibiotics, people who are manufacturing antibiotics, they need to stop. That is, they are not still stopping. What are they doing? Discharging. Discharge means they are releasing. Okay, what are these people doing? They are releasing untreated waste products into water. So what are they doing? They are damaging the environment. Okay. But okay, so that is what she is saying. Okay, still we need to do a lot of work. Unfortunately, the manufacturer of antibiotics, they're polluting the water bodies by releasing the untreated antibiotic waste. Okay, so is that a progress? That is definitely not the progress. That is the exact opposite. That is the exact opposite of answer option B. Okay, B is telling people are progressing. People are now controlling the level of antibiotic waste. But in the audio script we just heard, the exact opposite. Okay, that is people are contaminating the environment. So what can you do? Very easily, you can eliminate answer option B. Very easily, B is eliminated. Now you're left with two answer options. Now it is either A or either C. Production of new antibiotics, selective use of antibiotics. Now you see, only these two verbs you need to keep. Okay, now is it production of antibiotics that she is happy about, or is it selective use of antibiotics that she is happy about? Okay, this is the strategy over here. Right, so now let's take a look into this as well. Now seeing, it's not all doom and gloom. Now this is a emotive word over here. Okay, now see, this is a negative information. That is, antibiotics are being released into the environment and they are contaminating the environment. So that is a gloomy information. That is a doom information, right? That's a negative information. But now the OET is tricking us. Okay, they're telling, now she's saying it's not all doom and gloom. That is, she's saying, okay, even though there's a lot of negative things happening, everything is not negative. So now we can say, oh, it's not all, not everything is negative. So that is a clue. Okay, that is a clue over here. So now what is going to come? A positive information is going to come. Okay, not everything is positive, not everything is negative, not everything is gloomy, not everything is doom. Doom means what? Destruction. There is still hope. So now what is she saying? Now immediately she is saying that we are finding now. So what is she saying? Progress. Okay. So this is progress we are talking about. So what is the progress? Now, okay, progress means latest now, that when doctors prescribe antibiotics, when doctors are prescribing antibiotics, they are choosing narrow spectrum ones. Narrow. Narrow means what? You know, one very narrow direction. Okay. The opposite of broad. Okay. A narrow bridge means a very sharp bridge. Okay. So what are doctors doing? When they are prescribing antibiotics, they are choosing narrow spectrum antibiotics. Okay. So we have gram positive bacteria, we have gram negative bacteria, we have resistant bacteria, we have non-resistant bacteria. Okay. We have aerobic bacteria, we have anaerobic bacteria. Okay, we have good bacteria, we have bad bacteria, we have gut bacteria. Okay, like that, there are different types of bacteria. Okay, so depending upon the bacteria, a specific type of antibiotic we are using. That is a narrow spectrum antibiotics they're using. Okay, so this is the progress. These are active only against specific bacteria. Okay, so these antibiotics are active against specific bacteria. So they cause less general resistance. Now she's saying, now see, because doctors are prescribing antibiotics, which is narrow spectrum, and it only works against specific bacteria, what is happening? General resistance is now decreasing. Okay, the antibiotic resistance in human beings, it is actually decreasing. And when is she saying this? She is saying this immediately after saying a negative information, that is environmental contamination is negative, and immediately she is saying, okay, not everything is negative. So that is a clue. That is a clue that now what she is going to say is the positive information. Okay, and now she is saying the progress is doctors are now prescribing antibiotics which are narrow spectrum, and these antibiotics will work against specific bacteria, and because of this progress there is decreased general resistance. So what is answer option C telling us? Answer option C is telling selective use of antibiotics. What is the verb over here? Selective use of antibiotics to target specific infections. Okay, so that is the verb and that is the keyword. So everything is mentioned. Okay, and what is the question asking you? Is it welcoming? Is she welcoming this? So don't you think she is happy to say this? That is, it is decreasing general resistance. Okay, so what you can do? You can almost with certainty, you can choose C as the correct answer option, or if you want to be a perfectionist, you can just put a question mark. That is, you highly suspect C to be the right answer. And we have already eliminated answer option B. Okay, but now you have a high suspicion that C could be the correct answer because that is what she is welcoming. Now, what is answer option A? Production of new antibiotics by companies. That is the only thing that is left. Production of antibiotics by companies. But you take a look into the audio script, something they're saying. Okay, now they're saying, and something which is being talked about excitedly. Okay, now something which is being talked about excitedly means what? Other people are talking excitedly. Okay, in the pharmaceutical industry, she is not talking excitedly. Other people are talking very excitedly that in the pharmaceutical companies, just now is a therapy which uses bacterial viruses called phages to treat infections. Okay, so pharmaceutical industries are now launching something called phages, which are basically bacterial viruses to treat infections. Something which was first practiced a century ago. These are all distractors. They are just trying to distract you. Antibacterial therapies, whether phage or antibiotic based, have advantages and disadvantages. Again, a distractor. They're just distracting you, and there's still a lot to be learned about these interactions between phage, bacteria, humans. So a lot of information still we need to learn about it. Not important to us, and maybe it's time to take phage therapy seriously. See, these are all not really important to us because why? Here they're talking about production of new antibiotics. Okay, so here there is no production of new antibiotics. Here there is production of new antibacterial viruses. So that is the reason why the entire end portion of the audio is simply waste. Okay, it is just a distractor. Okay, it's all talking about bacterial viruses called phages. It has nothing to do with new antibiotics. Okay, but we have already to confirm the right answer. So what is so B we eliminated first, right? B we eliminated first. Why? Because what is the verb over here? Control of levels of antibiotic waste. That is the exact opposite. They are still contaminating the environment. That is not the progress she is welcoming. It is the opposite of progress. So B very easy to eliminate. Then we talked about selective use of antibiotics. So that is mentioned. Specific infections is also mentioned. Okay, and everything she is welcoming. This progress she is welcoming because she is saying it immediately. Not everything is doom and gloom. Not everything is negative. And then she is talking about this and she is saying it reduces antibiotic resistance. So you must be able to identify, okay, that is a positive thing she is saying. The opinion is positive. She is welcoming this. So you can choose C as the right answer. And the regarding answer option A, production of new antibiotics, nothing. Nothing regarding new antibiotics by pharmaceutical firms, and bacterial phages is mentioned. Latest antibiotics is not mentioned, and she is not really very happy about that also. Okay, nothing, it's not mentioned. So since this is not mentioned, what we can do? We can eliminate answer option A. So answer option C will be the right answer. So this is how you bring in the elimination strategy. So let's once again just listen to the audio, right? And see if this time you're able to pinpoint answer option C as the right answer without much difficulty. Okay. So shall we do that? All right, so let's take a look. So we have the detailed explanations are all available in the app. Okay, so all detailed explanations and lectures, easy to understand explanation. A lot of hard work has gone into this. 24/7 access you have. All you just have to do is, instead of using Facebook and Instagram, once in a while open the app and scroll through the videos. Okay, so I'm going to play the audio now. Now let's hear the audio script.
So, is there any progress to report? Well, though there's still serious work to be done in places, for example, for manufacturers of antibiotics to stop discharging untreated waste products into watercourses and so on, it's not all doom and gloom. We're finding now that when doctors prescribe antibiotics, they're choosing narrow spectrum ones. These are active only against specific bacteria and so cause less general resistance. And something which is being talked about excitedly in the pharmaceutical industry just now is a therapy which uses bacterial viruses called phages to treat infections, something which was first practiced about a century ago. Antibacterial therapies, whether phage or antibiotic-based, have advantages and disadvantages, and there's still a lot to be learned about the interactions between phage, bacteria, and human host. But maybe the time to take phage therapy seriously is rapidly approaching.
Right. So in simpler terms, yes. So now it becomes a little bit easier, right? So like this, that a repeated exposure to the same questions will definitely help you build the skills. So self-discovery of certain strategies and skills. All right. So what did we discuss in today's session? So in today's session, we discussed about opinion-based questions, right? That is how to think like the speaker. Okay. Not only simply understanding the language, but identifying the, attitudes, opinions, and viewpoints. That is, just by listening to the emotive words, contrast phrases, and all, you must be able to interpret the right message over there. So for that, you need to train yourself to identify emotive words or emotive languages that signal key ideas. Okay. So this is all emotive words, contrast phrases we have discovered, and definitely you need to bring in these strategies of keyword analysis and verb analysis. Okay, so you have to analyze the keywords to catch the stance, that is the viewpoint of the speaker, and the same thing skill you have to give to the answer options, questions, and audios as well. Verb analysis to eliminate the incorrect answer. Elimination strategy, extremely important. So you need to be able to very confidently, you should be able to eliminate the distractors. The OET is very cunning, but you also have to be very sharp. Okay, you must have a very sharp mind. You must be very, very focused, ultra concentrated, so that you're able to avoid the distractors. Okay, so like that. Okay, and again, concentration skills are extremely important. Even 1 second or even 2 seconds, if our concentration goes away, because it is very common that it happens, nervousness will come, distraction will come, anxiety will come, tiredness will come. You will become tired towards the end of the listening and all. You become extremely tired and exhausted because it is mentally draining. Each question is taking a lot of energy, right? So but still you must be able to stay very attentive. So for that, you need to do the keyword analysis and stuff. Okay, so practice retaining key phrases, comprehension without understanding the question and without implementing the right strategies, there cannot be a success. So you need to understand the question. Comprehension of the question is very, very important. And once you have understood, okay, this is the question type, then accordingly you should bring in the right strategies. And then in this combination, you will be getting OET success. Right. So prediction skill, accuracy, confidence, all these things will be very important. Okay, this is what we learned. So the assignment over here is to basically practice. Okay, that is take your Google Drive